Do you ever think about video games and really realize the parts that make them stand out? There's some aspects of video games that, if removed, they completely change the identity of a video game. Some video game features and mechanics live on to define whole console generations and genres themselves. Think about where we would be without power-ups, local co-op, or Nolan North and Troy Baker. With all that in mind, let's take a look at all the great mechanics and features that need to be in more video games just because of how interesting and fun they are.
Excellent. Fuck if I go on me.
The Kinect was unquestionably one of the biggest reasons the Xbox One got off to such a rocky launch in 2013. Xbox on. Xbox on. No wonder it can't understand me. However, whatever you think about the video aspect of the camera, you have to admit there were some pretty cool ideas on the audio side of things. One key idea was in alien isolation. If turned on in the settings, the Kinect would listen for any sound in the surroundings while you were sneaking past the xenomorph. If it heard any sound, ideally you gasping or screaming, the alien would be alerted to your location. Now, we're not saying the Kinect should come back at all, but rather this kind of use should be used for horror games with headset mics. That way, if the player wants to play with it, they can easily connect a mic and try their best to keep themselves silent or be messed with by the game itself.
We continue our gameplay feature series by exploring Middle-earth Shadow of Mordor's Nemesis System. The Nemesis System creates personal interactions with your unique enemies. Every enemy will remember their encounters with you.
Middle-earth Shadow of Mordor and Shadow of War are both respectable games in their own right, but what truly makes them stand out is the Nemesis System at its core. In both Middle-earth games, Talion would have to hunt down randomly made Uruks, starting with the lower ones in the chain of command to eventually get at the higher ones. As you would interact with these Uruks, they would remember you and bear scars from your previous battles. While there were times you could see the cracks in it, we believe that open world games should be more open to implementing systems like this. It's a really cool idea that if taken further in these ever-growing games could go a long ways towards making games feel even more immersive. While the game director in Back 4 Blood is the newest version of the AI director, it is baffling to us that more games do not adopt a game-changing mechanic like this. The AI director decides how tough the zombies in Left 4 Dead are on you, depending on how well you are going through the level. If things are going well, you're more likely to see a horde and more special infected. That's not all it does though, as it also determines item and weapon placement, and in some cases can change the layout of the map itself. We're excited to see how the game director in Back 4 Blood changes and revitalizes the formula, but more multiplayer games could use this to further make gameplay feel fresh on a new run through a level. This is especially true if you take a chance to change the structure of the map when you play it. Think of structures in a cover-based shooter changing every time you play, or waves of enemies coming from new areas. It wouldn't fit for every title, obviously, but if put in well thought out uses, the AI director could change the way developers look at multiplayer games.
Work like they should. Take this. Imagine it's a kind of timepiece.
In 2016, Titanfall 2 and Dishonored 2 both released as underselling games for the value that both provide. Seriously, if you haven't played either, be sure to give them a try. One of the coolest things both did though, was have one level that featured a way to seamlessly time travel between 2 points in time immediately at the press of a button. In both examples, you use this mechanic to both escape and engage a fight with enemies, while also getting past environmental hazards. There honestly isn't much more to say on this topic, just that more single-player games adopting this well-thought-out design would be great. These levels and mechanics are unique and offer some of the best gameplay from both games.
Stupid bottle.
Life is Strange is well known for being a popular emotional story that also on the side gives its protagonist superpowers. The first game followed Max Caulfield, who out of nowhere found out she could rewind time and, of course, abused it until the situation spiraled out of control for her. The way the developers handled rewinding time to get small clue hints and redo conversations was really cool, and it makes us wonder why more story and puzzle focused games haven't done the same thing. The Forza Horizon games also have a rewind mechanic for single player, showing that other genres can pull it off as well, as an accessibility feature that is much faster than reloading to the last checkpoint and running through various hoops to get to the same place you were previously. Some would scoff at this notion because it might make games too easy, but if it's an option that could be turned off or just flat out ignored, where's the issue? Here at Pixel Street, we live by what we call the destruction mandate. It states, if it can be broken, we will explore all options possible to break it, and anything else in the immediate vicinity. Why is it, though, that so few games actually let us destroy environments? Battlefield and Rainbow Six Siege stand out as the only games recently to go on this idea of setting up a playground that can be torn down. But even those games, they have indestructible structures and invincible walls. We want a playground that can be completely leveled in a multiplayer game. The frustrating thing is, it has happened before. I remember distinctly War of the Monsters on the PlayStation 2 having at least one level that could be entirely flattened. It was just a giant city, and you would fight each other, and you could take down skyscrapers and buildings. You could even hit this UFO and cause a tsunami. It was amazing. Like seriously, wouldn't Grand Theft Auto 5 be even better if you could take a skyscraper down? Just let us be destructive. Thanks so much for watching this video on great features and mechanics that we want to see in more video games. You want to know this new feature in YouTube that lets you see our future videos though? Click the subscribe button and we'll show you. Also, if you want to check out our podcast where we talk about video games every week, you can check out the Pixel Street podcast right here. And if you want to see our last list video on why Back 4 Blood is secretly Left 4 Dead 3, you can check that out right here. Thanks so much for watching.